Good morning. Cheryl Douthit here. I am an independent beauty guide with LimeLife, and I am coming on to say, woo, woo, it's Friday, yay! I am really excited about Friday this week. Can you tell? I also want to talk about foundations and how to choose one, and then share with you a few utensils and kind of go from there. So I want to also share this in, and I'm going to try something a little different here. I'm going to bring it up on my laptop as well so that I can see comments as they transpire, maybe. Hey, thank you so much for joining me. Appreciate it. Oops, what did I do? I should leave my buttons alone. So good morning. Happy Friday. As you can see here over my shoulder, it is a gloomy Friday, raining and cloudy and overcast, but we don't care. So today I want to talk just a little bit, just kind of waiting on a few people to join, a couple people from my team that we're going to jump on. I'm just impressed with how smooth my shampoo products got my hair. It's usually Shirley Temple curly, especially on a rainy day. So thank you, Jenny O. Appreciate the guidance and the products. Woo! My hair is usually very, 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 very curly and wavy and does not lay straight. So this one is just kind of being a radical on its own. Okay, so a few people on. If you are watching me live, please comment hashtag live. If you are watching me on a replay, please comment hashtag replay. That will help me judge and respond to people and tailor and improve my delivery of these videos to bring more value to you and to anyone that's watching. So please hashtag live or hashtag replay, either one which is appropriate for you. And thank you so much for joining me. Today I want to talk about foundations and some of the points. There's like four talking points in terms of what makes sense when you're selecting a foundation. So no, I'm not talking concrete or wood or asphalt, but I'm talking facial foundation, makeup foundation. And yes, I am a LimeLife beauty guide, and we have plant-based, all natural, no harsh chemical free wax-based foundation, and I'll show you that, and I'll show you a few tools to use with your foundation selection. But there are four key points that as you select a foundation, whether you go with LimeLife or some other product that you get at mail order, or whether it is drugstore, there are four things that you need to look at and consider when you're selecting a foundation. The first one is your skin tone, right? What's your undertone? Are you red? Are you pink? Do you tan? Are you more of an olive or a yellow color? It's very important to know what your skin tone is or your undertone is, because that's going to help you select a shade. Now with LimeLife, I really would like to do like face-to-face kind of introduction to our foundation, but I know that's not always possible. So we have a happiness guarantee, and we also use tools where we select based on how you tan, if you burn, what you like to do, what your undertone is. So we had the opportunity to be able to really, really, really pinpoint what the best shade for you is. And then we use a little bit of back and forth. So if you are not local and you want to select a foundation, then what we would do is we would get on a chat like this and be able to see each other, which would very much help me be able to color match you. Also, we would use our LimeLife Foundation quiz, which is like a 30-second quiz to take where you answer a few questions, and the system then helps select a range of colors or the best shade for you. So we can pinpoint that down to very specific to what works for you, and get you color matched into something that would be very appropriate and very natural looking for you. LimeLife's foundations are wax based, yay, and they sit on your skin. They don't seep into your pores and clog your pores up and cause breakouts and rashes, but it sits on your skin and it's very, very natural looking, very, very lightweight, and I'll show you some of those shades. Actually, I'll just go ahead and show you. There's a couple, so you have to excuse the holes. This is my growing room. But this palette is kind of a starting point, right? Where we have lighter shades and they get a little bit darker. And then we go into darker shades and they come into these awesome little palettes where you can get them in a single palette. You can get them in... and you can see how the shades graduate into darker shades. And that is because they are built and defined for any skin tone, right? Whether you're pink, red, purple, yellow, olive. And you can see here where you can get it in a palette where you put your foundation here and you have your primary concealers as well. So there's a lot of options there. But the first thing you want to know is, what is your undertone? So are you a cool, which is more pink, red, bluish undertone? You can look at your veins, and are your veins kind of blue or black? Do they look darker? Or are you warm, or you're more yellow, gold, peachy? And then you look at your veins, and your veins are they greenish? And then are you a neutral color? Are you more olive, where your veins, where you just can't really tell the difference? So I'm kind of a cool neutral. I'm kind of on the cusp of cool neutral. So everything in my life is, I'm born on the cusp between Aquarius and Capricorn. My pant size is between two different sizes. Everything with me is on the cusp, right? So I'm associate with multiple skin tones, and you may too, right? There's nothing wrong with that. And also your skin tone may change where in the spring and in summer, you'll go with a little bit darker shade, whereas in the fall and winter, you go with a little bit lighter shade. That is very fine. And the way LimeLife foundations are made, then we make the foundations are made so that you can mix them to give you that up and down balance, whether it be, hey, you just went on spring break and you got a really deep tan, but you don't want to go buy another foundation. So you have like two foundations, which will give you that opportunity to mix them. Or you want to go on vacation and you want to look darker, so you want to apply something that's a little bit darker. So you can play with those shades as well to what suits you and your situation. You're not tied into a single shade every day, 365 days a year, 300 years, right? It fluctuates, and you have the option to fluctuate that. So don't feel like, if we select a shade for you and it's a little bit off, that, oh my God, the sky is going to fall. Because we can fix that. We can make it work for you. We can get to where you put the foundation on. It gives you full coverage, and it is so light and so airy. It sits on top of your skin. It doesn't soak into your pores. And you would love it. You will love it. Hi, Lori. Thanks for coming on with me. The second point, okay, so the first point is you need to understand your skin tone, okay? The second point when selecting a foundation is you need to determine how much coverage do you want. right? Do you want something really light and sheer, more like a BB cream, which would give you kind of a tinted moisturizer? Or do you want, hey, Big Daddy, do you want something that is going to give you kind of a medium cover, which will kind of even out your skin tone, but conceal some of these? You can see some of my sunspots. We don't call them age spots. We call them sunspots. But you can see how I have some of these spots that when I put foundation on, I use a shade that matches my skin tone, but also helps me cover up some of these sunspots here, right? Or do you want full coverage, which gives you a lot of coverage and very heavy coverage, which will just totally transcend your face to where you can see a big difference from your before and your after. It really depends on what kind of coverage you want. So you need to know your undertones, right? We need to figure that out. And then we need to figure out what coverage you want. Okay, so that really helps as well. And then the third thing we need to do is we need to figure out what kind of foundation that you like. What type of foundation do you like? Do you like creams, which gives you, full or spot coverage? Do you like liquids, which, comes in a bottle and you have to keep shaking it because the properties separate, which gives you really full coverage? And do you like mousse, which helps absorb oils? Do you like a stick? Right? I've seen some, I've never used a stick foundation, but I've seen some that come in a stick now, and you just kind of rub the stick on your face, right? The stick is part of the brush, part of the application. And that gives you kind of spottage coverage. And like I talked about earlier, there's a BB cream, which is not really a liquid, but it's more of a lotion. And it gives you kind of a sheer to full coverage, and it's usually a tinted moisturizer arrangement. So you have that option. And then you have press powders, right? We're all familiar, or most of us are familiar with press powders, where you use a powder brush, a big fluffy powder brush, and a compact, right? And then there's tinted moisturizers as well. So we need to select that. Now, what LimeLife does is LimeLife has all natural, plant-based, no harsh chemicals, wax-oriented foundations. And they come in little pallets like this. And they're just little containers, right? And they magnetically go into these pallets, and you can make your own palette. Like I showed you before, you can go with the palette, the foundation and the two concealers. You can go with a foundation all by itself, where it just sits in the package by itself. And you can select through several different shades that will get you through, spring, summer, fall, winter, and you can mix and match them. So there's a lot to choose from there. And then the third thing is what shade works for you, right? As I mentioned earlier, when I do virtual consultations or workstations like this, then we would get on the screen together and we'd look at each other, and I'd be able to see your skin tone, and we'd talk about how you tan. We would talk about the color of your veins. We'd talk about how you like to wear your foundation. And we would look at that and take all points into consideration and select from the many shades that LimeLife has. We have going from very, very light, very porcelain, very light, to very, very dark. I think there's like a total of 19 shades to choose from, and some combination in between there. So I personally, this time of year, I mix two shades, whereas in the summertime, I'll probably just go with a darker shade and not mix the lighter shade to balance it out for my pale skin right now, right? So those are the 5 things that we need to think through. Your undertones, we need to think through how much coverage you choose, how much coverage you desire. We need to think through the type of formula of your foundation that you like. And then we need to understand how your shade is, what your color is, and how to make that work for you. Then the next piece of the puzzle is we need to understand what kind of application you like, right? What kind of application tool, I should say, you like. Do you like brushes? Do you like sponges? And what type of brush do you like? So there's a couple brushes that I'd like to show you after a cup of coffee, because it is still morning and this is only my second cup of coffee. So sip with me. Okay, much better. I feel very refreshed now. So the thing to remember about brushes is the bigger the brush, the lighter your coverage is going to be. So you can see here, these are high quality LimeLife brushes, and you can see there's a variation in sizes and shapes, right? So most of these are the brushes that I would use with a client, and I use for myself, right, to apply foundation. This is brush number 17. It's a diffuser brush, and you can see how big it is, right? And fluffy and soft. And when I use this to apply foundation, you're gonna see that I'll get a light shade of foundation, but I'm not gonna get a lot of coverage, right? It's gonna be very light. And actually, before I do that, let me talk about, and I'm sorry, I gotta back up. Let me talk about primer first, because you always want to prime, right? And the reason you prime is because it helps reduce inflammation in your skin, but it also gives you very smooth application, kind of a clean surface to put your foundation on, so that your foundation stays where you want it to stay. And we have a couple of different choices with LimeLife, where you have what's called our first base primer. I don't know if you can see this with the lights, but it's a spray, right? And it goes on as a spray, and you just spray it on, and it helps to reduce the visibility of pores and fine lines. It also helps that foundation stick to your face, if you will. I know it sounds kind of crude, but it helps it stick in place so that as the day goes on, your makeup doesn't start drooping, right? Because a lot of brands do. And then we also have our face oil, which is made with Palmarosa and sunflower oil, called Due Date. This is an excellent moisturizer to use on your face, but it also works as a great primer. So you can use this as a primer, and it gives you just a bit of a glow, a little bit of a shimmery look, a dewy look, more so than just very matte. And now that we're going into summer, spring and summer, where we're getting outside more, we're taking in a lot of sun, we can also use our Perfect Sunscreen, which comes in a tube like this. You can use this as a primer under your foundation as well. And that also gives you a bit of edge on sunscreen on your face, so it helps protect your face. So for today, I am going to use our First Base face spray, and I'm going to spray this. I'm going to spray it in a T and then crisscross, and that will cover all of my face. And it just comes in this little pump, right? This little. So I'm going to spray it and then crisscross, and that covers the whole face. Let that sit for just a few minutes. It really doesn't have a smell to it at all. Doesn't have much of an aroma, but that will help sit on your face, help keep your foundation in place. It also helps with reducing the visibility of redness. It helps with making your pores look smaller. It helps with the wrinkles and the fine lines. So just very, very good product. This one bottle will last forever, because you saw how little I used, just squirt. And I use that underneath my makeup when I put my makeup on. Okay, so back to our foundations. So I have multiple shades here because I work with different clients that are different shades. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you each one of these brushes so you can see a little bit of how the foundation comes on. This is our number 17 diffuser brush, very big, very fluffy. Has different types of brush bristles, right? But it's just very soft and fluffy. And this shade right here is, I don't know if you can see that with these lights. This shade right here is Olive 1, and that's what I use in the spring. This shade right here is Olive 2, and I'm starting to mix those two because I'm going into being out in the sun more and getting more of a suntan. So let's do this. And I will take this brush and I'll just run it around. Okay. And you can see, got it on my face. And then I'll do this side. And I'm just doing in short little circles, right? Always do it in circles, no matter which direction you go. Some will say, you go circle up, you circle down. Personally, I get lost. So I just do circles. But you want to make sure, see how smooth and airy that goes on? But it's a light coverage. Okay? And that's our diffuser brush. Now we have, and I forget the name of this one. Whoops. Yes, I have to have my glasses. And now I'm going to move to a little bit smaller diffuser brush, right? This is a diffuser brush. Okay? A little bit different than the one I just showed you. It's smaller, so you can concentrate on a specific area more. So let's look at that, and we'll use the same shade. And I'll use this Olive 1, and I just get it on the brush, right? And then let's do it right here on the side of my nose. And you're just kind of painting it on, okay? And I'll just go over that area. But the smaller brush really helps me get into the grooves as well. And yes, at my age, my face has groove. Let's see. Just very smooth and even application. So that's brush 18, also a diffuser brush. And then we can use, for our cheekbones and our jawline, we can use this fan brush, which is number 16. So this is a fan brush. I also use this for highlighter on my cheeks. I'm going to put a highlighter on. But you can also use it for foundation if you choose. So we'll use the same shade. We'll use this Olive 1. Okay. And I just get it on there. And what this fan brush does is it helps you get into specific areas that you might be missing, but it's also really, really good for the cheekbones and the jawline. So come down here, and it's very important that when you do the jawline that you also go down the neck a little bit, because you don't want this big streak here and then this be totally different. So hopefully when we're choosing a selection, when we're selecting a foundation shade for you, we're selecting a shade that works really well for you as well, and you don't have a lot of separation in color, but also make sure you're going down your chin line just a little bit, down into your neck, so that you can get a very even cover down your neckline, and it looks like it blends together naturally. But that's a fan brush. And then there is even more coverage if we wanted to be even more precise. And this is brush number 5, which is, what's the official title of this one? Brush number 5 is, that's brush number 4. Brush number 5 is a buffer brush, which applies very evenly, but it's very similar to the first one, right? But it's much smaller, so you get much closer application. So I might use this brush, brush number 5, and I'll get my foundation on here, all right? And I'm gonna go right in here in these small spots, okay? And you can see how it just gives me really good coverage in those areas where a bigger brush might skim over it. This littler brush really gets right into the cracks and crevices, the groove of my face, right? We're grooving on a Friday. Okay. And then the last brush is our foundation brush. And this one you can see this is brush number 4, and it's like a paintbrush. Okay, so we're going to use this, and we're going to go on this other side, and okay, and we'll just go here, and basically what we're doing is painting it on, right? But remember, this foundation is wax based, so it sits on your skin. It doesn't seep into your pores, so it's not going to cause breakout. It's not going to clog up your pores and cause rashes. It goes on very light and airy. And with this brush, you can see how it moves around, right? You can just put it where you want it. Okay? And it also gives you a little heavier coverage, because remember, the smaller the brush, the heavier the coverage. All right? And that's the foundation brush. Now, there's one other option that we could use. Well, actually, there's two. You could use your fingers and just, you could do that. But also, you can use this Blendiful, which is a non-latex sponge. I know some people are allergic to latex. I'm actually allergic to adhesive. So when I go in the hospital, I don't care whether they wear gloves, just don't put a damn Band-Aid on me, right? So, we have this non-latex sponge that comes in this really adorable little case. Perfect for traveling, because this makes it really easy for me to travel with this, and it dries out quickly, and I don't have to worry about it getting all nasty, moldy, and smelly in my suitcase, because it dries out really quickly with this case. But when you use it, it just kind of flaps open, and when you use it, this one is a Blendful. It's a Blendful sponge. It's latex, and it is really, really good to apply foundation. And what you do is, and I'll show you, you just kind of squeeze it here, and you put a little bit here, and then you just bounce on your face. So I'm going to use this one to put on my forehead. Now this one's going to give you very sheer coverage, but very clean, even coverage. Well, of course, depending on how you bounce it. Okay, so you can see I just got it on here, and then we're going to do this on my forehead. And we'll just bounce it on here. Let's see, I'm just bouncing. It's like my own bounce castle. You know, you ever want to jump in with the kids in those bouncy castles? Well, my face has a bouncy castle. Okay, so you just bounce it on and move it around. And since I still have some, okay, so see how it covers so well? It just covers evenly. And that's it. You use like virtually none, and it gives you very even coverage. And this is going to last for me all day. I am not going to have to worry about, my makeup melting on my face, or when I go outside this afternoon to take my kitty cat to the vet, I'm not going to have to worry about rain, water, running everywhere. This will stay in place. The other thing that I'm going to do, and there's a couple different options here as well, is I'm going to use a finishing spray and a finishing powder. And the powder is like going to go on, and it's going to set that foundation, right? It's going to kind of set it in place, just really finish out, thus the name finishing powder. And then I'm going to use the finishing spray, which we call time setter. And what that will do is it'll prevent your makeup from running, and from settling in those fine lines, and then just give you a really professional look. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use this translucent powder. It looks like it's white, but trust me, it's not. And what this will do is help set that makeup. It'll also help absorb some water. It'll help absorb oil, and it'll just give you that really smooth kind of matte finish to your foundation. And since I've already used this brush, I'm going to use this large diffuser brush, which will be really good for blending powders on my face. So I'll just put this on here like this. And these are very highly pigmented. So when you use the foundation, it doesn't take much. I mean, just a real little bit. So I'm going to go on here like this, just very lightly, and I'm going to put it in circles, right? And that will help cover. And I don't know if you'll be able to see this with this light or not, but because this light's pretty bright, but this will give you a little bit of a matte color and kind of tone down any kind of liquidy look. And that's it. So I used this brush and I used our translucent face powder. So my face doesn't look white, right? But it does it feels very even. It feels very refreshed, and it does not feel greasy. Then the other thing I'm going to use is I'm going to use our, what do we call this? Time Setter finishing spray. And again, I'm going to do the T and then crisscross. And what this will do is assist the powder, but it'll also keep the makeup from settling in fine lines. Like we've got lines here, we've got itty bitty little worry line here. But it'll also help keep it from settling there, but it'll also then give me this really professional look. Now, normally I use this after I've done my whole face, but for illustration purposes, I'm going to do it here right now. So, again, it's just a squirt bottle, and I'll go let that dry. Okay, so while that's drying, let's recap just a little bit. Anytime you use foundation, you should always use a primer, okay? LimeLife has a couple of options where you can use the first base primer, which is a squirt spray. You can use Due Date, which is a moisturizer, but it also gives you a bit of a dewy look. And now that we're going into spring and summer, you can use our Perfect Sunscreen, which will give you kind of a dewy look, but it'll also protect your skin from the sun. Also, there are, and I'll check this, but I think there's like 19 different shades to choose from. We have several options, and we also have a foundation quiz that will help us select the perfect shade for you, either right now or thinking ahead into your spring and summer shade. Also, we have various brushes and our Blendful sponge, non-latex sponge to use. And remember, the bigger the brush, the less coverage. The smaller the brush, the heavier coverage. But you can use whatever brush works for you that gives you the kind of coverage that you want. Also, then you're going to want to follow up with a finishing spray and or a finishing powder, which will just help reduce those lines even more. It'll help your makeup stay in place, and it will also give you a very professional look. So I don't know if you can tell, but I have a very even skin tone look. It doesn't look, really unnatural. Do you think? Do you think it looks unnatural? It looks very even and very smooth. And then also I can now put my eyes. I'll do some brows. I'll do my eyes with some mascara, and I'll do some powder, blush, and I'll also do some bronzer that will help bring a little pop to my face. And that's how I choose my foundation. So if you are interested, certainly message me, comment below. If you have specific questions, even if it's not about LimeLife Foundation and you just want help picking a product, you know what? I'm here. I will help you. And I will certainly draw upon resources that I have at my disposal through LimeLife to help you pick the right product for you. I didn't know all this stuff. I learned this stuff by learning from others. And with Limelight and the network, the sisterhood that's in place, my upline and my downstream, my team, we all learn from each other. So I learn this stuff from everybody else too. So don't feel like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. I can't possibly wear a foundation because I don't know how to choose. You know what? We all learn from each other. So let me share what I've learned. Let me share what I've learned with you, and you can share with somebody else. And we can expand everybody's knowledge, but at the same time, we can find some products that'll work for you. So thank you all for joining me today. I appreciate it. I apologize for being long-winded, and certainly appreciate all your comments and all your participation, and look forward to interacting with you again. Again, my name is Cheryl Dalpett, and I'm an independent beauty guide, and I hope you all have a super, super duper Friday. Thank you.